I skipped my childhood friend's birthday after his girlfriend vowed to supervise me. Now everyone says I ruined their family celebration. Miles and I have known each other since we were 2 because our parents have always been best friends. I would not call Miles my best friend now though. He is a good friend, and we hang out occasionally, but because of our parents, we see each other at every major holiday and family celebration. We are both in our early 20s. The whole problem somehow started over a ridiculous childhood memory. When we were 8, our school aftercare program put on a wedding play. I was the bride and Miles was the groom. It was just a silly little play with awful songs, uncoordinated kids and parents recording every second of it. Of course our parents took photos and videos, and both of our families still have one picture from it hanging on the family photo walls. Miles has been dating Lindy. They met 3 years ago but only started dating last year. Lindy does not like me at all. Every time we end up at the same celebration, she makes some comment about me being the typical girl best friend. Once she even told me that I secretly wanted to sleep with Miles. I genuinely have no idea where she got that impression. Miles and I have completely different friend groups and different schedules. Other than catching up over food maybe once a month, we barely even see each other. Things got worse after Lindy saw the old wedding play picture. After that, the comments became more frequent, and she started sending me direct messages on Instagram saying she knew what game I was playing. I talked to Miles about it once, hoping he would at least tell her to stop. Instead, he told me to give her time. His birthday was Saturday, and I was invited to the party. Before it happened, Lindy messaged me and basically said she would be supervising me. She said it was their first birthday together as a couple and that I was not allowed to take up his time. By then, I was honestly exhausted by all of it. I tried talking to Miles one more time, but he gave me the same answer, just give her time, so I decided not to go. When the party started, I sent Miles a quick message apologizing that I could not make it. I told him my mother would bring his present for me since she was already going. Now Miles is upset that I missed his birthday. Lindy is angry because she says I made everything about myself, and my parents are disappointed that I skipped what they see as a family function. I did not want to cause drama. I just did not want to spend an entire evening being watched, accused and treated like I was trying to steal someone's boyfriend. Update 1. Edit. I didn't show anyone the messages because I didn't want to turn this into something bigger than it already was. I especially didn't want to poison anyone against Lindy if she is going to be a permanent part of Miles's life. That would only make things harder for both of us in the long run. I honestly hope that talking to her directly would be the more adult way to handle it. My parents are not angry with me, and they are not constantly blowing up my phone. They, along with Miles's parents, were simply disappointed because this was the first birthday of his that I had ever missed. As for why Lindy seems jealous, I truly have no idea. Neither set of parents ever pushed Miles and me to get together. There were never jokes about us ending up together or anything like that. If anything, I do not think either of our parents would have wanted that. The picture of us dressed up for the wedding play is in both living rooms because they loved it, and it was from our very first play together. Update 2. I will start with what happened most recently, then clarify a few things later. After everything that had happened before, I talked to Miles. At first, he was angry and thought I was blowing the whole situation out of proportion. There were more details behind that, but in the end we agreed that we needed some distance while he figured things out. More than anything, I did not want the extra stress of petty drama hanging over me. After that, I told my parents what was going on. They were really upset by the way Lindy had treated me. They were not going to interfere directly, obviously, but it felt good to finally get it off my chest, and have them understand why I was so overwhelmed. Then for a while, nothing happened. Until Tuesday evening. Wednesday was a holiday, so a few friends and I went to an Irish pub for karaoke. At one point my best friend and I went to the bathroom to pee and touch up our makeup. That was when Lindy walked in with some of her friends and they immediately started crowding us into a corner. It was ugly. They started talking loudly about man-stealing bitches and how some women were apparently born to be homewreckers. They went on about how pathetic it was to pretend to be a guy's friend just to sleep with him, and how pick-me girls were the worst. They kept pretending we were not there while slowly forcing us farther back toward the hand dryers. My best friend eventually had enough. She pushed her way through them and pulled me along behind her. We were almost back at our table when Lindy came up behind me and yanked my hair. I fell backward onto this metallic footrest attached to the bar. The pain was so intense that I started seeing white. Then one of the girls standing beside Lindy poured beer over me. After that, everything became a blur. There was a scuffle, people were shouting, and somehow one of those heavy pint glasses was dropped onto my head. Lindy and her friends were taken away by the police while I was taken to the hospital. My parents were furious. Miles's parents were furious too, and both of them came to the hospital. I had a severe concussion, a fractured nose, and the worst part was that I had a hairline fracture in my back. I stayed in the hospital until yesterday morning. Miles tried calling me a lot while I was there. According to my parents, they told him not to come visit me yet. I also received an official notice saying that there is now a legal case open against Lindy and one of the other girls. Not only for assault but also for causing a public disturbance at the bar, so now I have to deal with all of that legally too. I finally talked to Miles. The short version is that Lindy had been isolating him, and the relationship was abusive. He told me about all the things she had said to make him feel worthless. Whenever something went wrong in her life, she would take it out on him. He told me that she scratched him and bit him when she was angry. Our conversation ended with both of us crying and apologizing. We are going to be close again, at least enough that we can talk more openly and make sure neither of us is dealing with things alone. He broke up with Lindy, and right now he is staying at my parents' house so he can be somewhere safe. That is all for now. Update 3. I wanted to give an immediate update, even though I will go into more detail later. Right now, my insurance is paying 75% of my former income, and my workplace is covering the remaining amount. However, I will probably still lose my job. Because of that, my insurance company has filed a claim against Lindy to recover the wages I have lost. I am not in contact with Miles at the moment. I tried hard to be supportive of him, because I know he was a victim too. But being disabled because of his jealous ex-girlfriend has left me bitter toward him. He did not cause this alone. But I cannot live my life the way I used to anymore, and part of me still blames him for that. I'm in therapy now, trying to work through everything I'm feeling. I have also taken up some new hobbies to keep myself moving forward. I have started writing more, and I'm looking into courses and online classes so I can hopefully create a different path for myself. One of Lindy's friends contacted my lawyer and offered to testify against her own friend. She also sent me a letter apologizing. Apparently Lindy had told her friends that I was bullying her and that Miles had already cheated on her with me once before, so that is where things stand right now. Take care of yourselves and always watch your back. Update 4.0. So, here we are again. Things have moved forward, technically, but I'm honestly exhausted. The first court date came and went. It was my insurance company against Lindy, and, unsurprisingly, she lost. She is now responsible for most of my lost wages, which is a relief, I guess. I didn't have to sit through the entire thing, and I was grateful for that because I've had more than enough of this situation already. As for the criminal case, we still don't know whether it will actually make it to court. My lawyer is dealing with it, and I've mostly handed everything over to my dad because I'm done trying to carry all of this myself. I'm not a legal expert, and after losing the insurance case, Lindy is apparently in a pretty bad position. Her legal team has been scrambling to contain the damage, but at this point I really don't care what happens to her case. That is no longer my problem. More of Lindy's old friends have suddenly appeared to give testimony, and it turns out this was far from the first time she had done something like this. Another girl came forward with evidence that Lindy pulled similar stunts in high school. The girl had simply been sitting next to Lindy's boyfriend at the time, doing absolutely nothing wrong, and Lindy completely lost it. She started rumors about her, and even scattered actual breadcrumbs over the girl's table because she knew she had celiac disease. That is the kind of person Lindy has always been. Nobody could prove what she did back then, but now that all these former friends are finally talking, everything is coming out, and I don't think any of them suddenly grew a conscience.
They are scared. They do not want to lose their jobs or have something ugly attached to their records.
The evidence keeps surfacing, and it is getting worse every day. Then there is Miles, which is its own separate disaster. I'm still not speaking to him. I found out that he had known for a while that Lindy was threatening him with bad things if he did not cut me off and make his parents stop speaking to me. And this idiot laughed it off. He thought she meant she would break up with him or something equally petty. But she was serious. She had already started stalking me and one of his cousins. She made a fake profile and sent his cousin strange cryptic messages. What did Miles do when he found out? He talked her down, that was it. She gave him ultimatum after ultimatum, and he just went along with it. So yes, I am even angrier with him now than I was before. He knew she was unstable, he knew what she was capable of, and he did nothing meaningful to stop her. He let her spiral while I was the one being dragged through hell. His dad eventually stepped in and took him to the police. They filed reports about everything Lindy had done. They have evidence now from what happened with his cousin along with photos from times Lindy got physical with Miles. At least something is finally being done on that side of things, but it feels too little and far too late to me. Lindy herself has gone completely silent otherwise, except of course for TikTok. My friends still send me the videos she posts and they are honestly unsettling. She acts like nothing is happening. Like her life is not unraveling around her. She has a new boyfriend now, and they make those painfully awkward lip-sync videos together. I think she might be living at his place, although I cannot say for sure. Maybe her parents cut her off. I would not be shocked if they did. One of my friends looked up the new guy, and all I can say is that he fits her usual pattern perfectly. As my grandma would say, there's a lid for every pot health-wise. I do not have much good news. My pain has not improved, and I'm waiting for a surgery appointment that will likely be in early 2025. The pain has started radiating into my left hip now, which is just wonderful. I feel like that sad little dog from the Black Cauldron most days. There have been a few small bright spots though. I have become friends with some of the nurses who work with me, and one of them braids my hair sometimes. It is such a small thing, but it is really sweet. I am also seeing a physiotherapist regularly. At this point, the appointments are mostly massages, which help for a little while. Some days though, it feels like I am holding myself together with duct tape and wishful thinking. My physiotherapist suggested pool exercises, so now I'm taking an aqua aerobics class meant mostly for seniors. There is not a disability-specific class in my town, and honestly I did not have the energy to search very hard for one. The older women in the class are hilarious. Well, most of them are. There is one woman who always looks completely miserable, but I cannot exactly judge her for that. One genuinely good thing is that I was finally approved for a wheelchair. At least now I can go out with my friends without feeling like my body is going to fall apart after an hour. I have also been taking a few university classes just for fun, and I have been playing far too much Fallout. That is where things stand right now. Everything is still messy, but I'm doing what I can to get through each day. Update 5.2, things have finally settled enough that I can talk about what happened. The court case is over. Lindy was sentenced to actual prison time, with none of it suspended. She was also ordered to pay restitution for my medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. The court examined everything, the evidence, the testimony, and the messages between us. In the end, there was no question about who was responsible. I cannot explain how much relief I felt hearing that. During the trial, Lindy tried to claim that I had bullied her and that I had planned the incident at the pub so I could corner and ambush her in the bathroom where there were no cameras. She insisted that I had hit her first. Two of her friends supported her version of events, but the third friend, the one who had also taken part in the attack, eventually told the truth because she wanted to avoid a harsher punishment. Their stories were full of contradictions from the beginning. Once the outside closed-circuit television footage and statements from pub witnesses were presented, Lindy's entire version of events fell apart. The court especially could not ignore the messages she had sent me before the attack. She had no explanation for why the person she claimed was bullying her was also the person receiving threats from her. It also came out that Lindy and her new boyfriend had been trying to intimidate witnesses. Her boyfriend had even messaged me on Instagram, clearly trying to bait me into saying something incriminating, or admitting to something I had not done. At first I did not know who he was, so I replied briefly. The moment I realized, I stopped responding. Thankfully, I had already given every message and piece of evidence to my lawyer, so it was all documented. Watching Lindy's lawyer try to describe what she had done as simply acting out under stress was surreal, especially when it was clear that she had been interfering with the case behind the scenes. There was also a moment outside the courtroom when my parents spoke with Lindy's parents. It was not a fight, but it was deeply uncomfortable. My parents pointed out that everything presented in court made it undeniable what Lindy had done. Lindy's parents did not argue. They just seemed completely overwhelmed and out of their depth. They said they were shocked by how far she had taken everything and admitted they had not understood how serious it really was. They have taken on the financial responsibility for her restitution, which means I know the money for my expenses will actually come through. I do not know whether they are doing it because they feel guilty or because they want to protect their image, but either way, it is one less thing I have to carry. Adjusting to my new normal has been complicated. The chronic pain is still there, and my surgery is not scheduled for another few months. On top of that, I have been dealing with the endless back and forth of German bureaucracy. My insurance keeps sending letters that basically ask, "So, are you still disabled?" as though chronic pain and an unhealed fracture might somehow disappear overnight. Every time I think I have explained everything, another form arrives. It is exhausting. My doctors have been incredibly supportive though, and they always help me sort through the paperwork when I need it. Some days are still much harder than others. There are moments when I feel deeply sad about how much my life has changed. A few months ago, I was trapped in that sadness. I was angry all the time, constantly thinking about how unfair everything was. I think I was grieving the life I believed I would have. Now, I have started accepting that this is my life. Even if I never fully heal, I know I will find a way to manage it. I refuse to let Lindy occupy any more space in my mind than she already has. I have been trying to focus on things that make me happy again. My friends and I started a Dungeons & Dragons campaign and they come over to my place to play. They are incredibly patient whenever I need to take a break or when the pain becomes too much. Through that group I met someone. At first I was scared to get close to him because I worried that my situation would feel like too much for him. But he has been amazing. He drives me to appointments, brings me groceries once a week, and has never once made me feel like a burden. I'm falling in love with him. For the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. I have also been keeping myself busy with my courses, and I finally re-watched all of How I Met Your Mother. Sometimes I still catch myself comparing my old life to this one, And it hurts, but I do not stay in that feeling for as long as I used to. I am learning how to move forward while still allowing myself to feel everything that comes with this new chapter. I have also distanced myself from Miles' parents. They were wonderful to me, but I realize that Miles needs their support now more than I do, and he deserves to have it without it being divided. I still do not know whether I can forgive him. I have not been able to so far. It has been a long road, but I finally feel like I have reached the other side of it. I am holding close to the people who make my life lighter, because they have made more difference than they will ever know. Update 6. It was supposed to be in early 2025, then it got moved twice, because apparently the German healthcare system enjoys testing how long a person can remain polite while calling the same office every week. By the time I got the actual date, I had stopped letting myself get excited about anything involving hospitals. The surgery itself went well, at least according to the surgeon. They repaired the part of my spine that had not healed properly and removed some damaged tissue that had been causing pressure around the nerves. I was in the hospital for 6 days afterward, which was longer than expected because I reacted badly to one of the pain medications and spent an entire night convinced the curtain beside my bed was breathing. My boyfriend stayed with me as much as he could. He brought me my charger, clean clothes and a ridiculous stuffed rad scorpion from Fallout that he found online because he said I needed a hospital familiar. One of the nurses saw it sitting on the windowsill and started calling it Dr. Scorpion. I'm still not sure whether that was meant to be reassuring. The first few days after surgery were awful. I knew they would be painful obviously, but there is a specific kind of fear that comes with waking up and not knowing whether the pain is normal recovery pain or whether something has gone wrong again. I kept expecting someone to come in and tell me there had been a complication. That did not happen. The pain is still there, but it is different now. It is no longer the sharp, burning feeling running down my left side every time I move the wrong way. I can stand for longer than I could before. I can walk around my flat without immediately needing to sit down. I'm still using my wheelchair when I go out because I am nowhere near strong enough to trust my body for a full day, but my physiotherapist has started giving me actual exercises again instead of just trying to make my muscles unclench. For the first time since the pub incident, there is a realistic chance that I might not be in this amount of pain forever. Unfortunately, recovery has also meant that I have far too much time to think. My boyfriend and I are officially together now. He asked me properly a few weeks before my surgery. There was no huge romantic speech or public gesture. We were sitting on my couch after Dungeons and Dragons, surrounded by empty pizza boxes and dice that had rolled under every piece of furniture I own. He just asked whether he could call me his girlfriend, and I said yes before he could finish the question. He has met my parents now, which went better than I expected. My dad liked him almost immediately because he watches football and knows how to fix things. My mom made far too much food and kept insisting he take leftovers home. He did, because he is smart. I have been trying to take my courses more seriously too. I'm still not completely sure what I want to do long term, but I passed my first exam since everything happened. It was only one class, but it felt strangely huge. I had forgotten what it was like to accomplish something that had nothing to do with doctors, insurance, lawyers, or surviving another difficult day. Then last week, Miles contacted my dad. He did not contact me directly. I had blocked his number a long time ago, and I think he understands that going around that would make everything worse. He asked my dad if he could bring something over. My dad told him no at first, but Miles said it involved the case against Lindy and that he did not know what else to do with it, so my dad met him outside their house. Miles gave him an old phone. Apparently he had found it while clearing out some of his things from the garage at his parents' house. It was one of Lindy's old phones from when they were still together. He said she had left it in his car months before the attack and told him it was broken, so he never thought much about it. He had put it in a box with random cables and old electronics and forgotten about it. Recently, while looking for something else, he charged it. There were messages on it between Lindy and the friend who eventually testified against her. Some of them were from before the pub incident. My dad did not tell me the details immediately. He gave the phone straight to my lawyer first because he did not want me reading something that could affect the legal situation without knowing what it meant. But my lawyer called yesterday and asked if I was sitting down. The messages show that Lindy had been talking about confronting me days before it happened. She told her friend that she wanted to scare me enough that I finally disappear. There were messages about following me, finding out where I went out, and making sure I was alone. There was also one message that made my lawyer go quiet for a few seconds before reading it to me. Lindy had written that Miles would not stop her because he never does anything when I tell him not to. My lawyer is sending the phone and everything recovered from it to the prosecutor's office because Lindy has filed an appeal against her sentence. This morning, my dad called me again. Miles had come back to their house. Update 7. This time he was not carrying another phone or a box of old things. He had an envelope. My dad said Miles looked worse than he had when he first showed up with Lindy's phone. He was pale, shaking, and apparently kept looking down the street like he expected someone to be standing there. The envelope had been pushed through the letterbox at his parents' house that morning. There was no stamp or return address. Inside were 3 printed photographs. The first was of me outside the Irish pub from the night everything happened. It was taken before I went in. I was standing with my best friend, and we were both laughing at something. I had never seen the picture before, but it was obviously taken from across the street. The second was of Miles leaving his job a few weeks ago. The third was of my boyfriend's car parked outside my building. There was no note, just the photos. My dad called the police immediately. He also called my lawyer, because at that point nobody wanted to touch anything without documenting it first. The police took the envelope and photographs for fingerprints, although they warned us not to expect much from that. They have also opened a separate report because the picture of me outside the pub confirms that someone had been watching me before the attack. That part has been bothering me more than I expected. We knew from the messages on Lindy's old phone that she had talked about following me and finding out where I went out, but seeing an actual photograph from that night made it feel different. It means one of them was there before I arrived. They knew where I was going. My lawyer thinks the photos may be connected to Lindy's appeal. The timing is strange, especially because the old phone was handed over only a few days before the envelope appeared. Lindy is still in prison, but she has access to lawyers, family, and whatever people are still willing to do things for her. Her new boyfriend has not been charged with anything related to the pub incident, but he was already mentioned during the trial because of the messages he sent me. The police are trying to locate him now. Miles did not ask to see me. He gave everything to my dad and left before the police arrived. My dad told me that he said he did not want to make my recovery harder, but he also did not know where else to bring it. Apparently he has been staying with his parents again since Lindy's appeal started. He had moved back into his own place for a while, but after the phone was found, he began getting calls from blocked numbers. He never answered them, but they kept coming. Then, 2 days ago, someone scratched the side of his car while it was parked outside his workplace. There are no cameras in the employee parking area, because of course there are not. I do not know what to think about Miles anymore. I still do not want contact with him. I have worked too hard to get my head into a place where hearing his name does not ruin an entire day, but I also do not want him hurt, and I definitely do not want him dragged back into the kind of fear he was living with when he was with Lindy. My recovery has been going well otherwise. I had my first follow-up appointment after surgery, and the surgeon was happy with how everything looked. I'm still sore all the time, and I'm still sleeping badly because I cannot find a position that does not annoy some part of my back, but I'm walking more. Last weekend, I made it through an entire trip to the supermarket with my boyfriend without using the wheelchair. It was not exactly exciting. We bought vegetables, cat food for my parents' cat, even though I do not have a cat, and a bag of chips that somehow disappeared before we got home. But I walked through the whole store. I did not have to sit down halfway through. I did not have to pretend I was fine while quietly counting the seconds until I could lie down again. Then the police called this afternoon. They said they had found something on the back of the photograph of my boyfriend's car. It had been printed on normal photo paper, so nobody noticed it at first. There was faint writing pressed into the back, like someone had written a note on top of the photographs before separating them. They enhanced it enough to read part of it. It is an address. Update 8. The police did not tell me that immediately. My dad knew before I did because they called him while I was at physiotherapy, and he waited until I got home because he did not want me finding out while I was trying to do leg lifts in a room full of elderly people and resistance bands. Apparently the address had been written on the photographs deliberately. The police think whoever delivered the envelope wanted Miles to know where the pictures had come from, either as a threat, or because they assumed he would understand something about the storage unit. Miles did not. He had never been there and said he had no idea Lindy's boyfriend even rented one. Getting a warrant took a couple of days. Those were not fun days. The police increased patrols around my building and my boyfriend's place. My boyfriend was offered the option of staying somewhere else for a while, but he refused to leave me alone. We compromised by having him stay at my flat more often, which was already happening anyway. My parents also became weirdly intense about checking the street before I got into or out of a car. I hated it. I had finally started going places again without constantly planning exits and chairs and how far I could walk. Suddenly, every trip outside felt like a decision that needed witnesses. Then the police searched the unit. They did not find Lindy hiding in some dramatic corner obviously. She is still in prison. What they found was much stranger, and somehow worse because it was so ordinary. There was a cheap printer, photo paper, envelopes, a paper cutter, and an old laptop. There were also several boxes of random things that looked like they had been taken from Lindy's old flat after she moved out. Clothes, makeup, notebooks, chargers, all the usual useless things people throw into boxes when they do not want to sort through their lives. One box had a stack of photographs in it. Some were normal pictures of Lindy and her boyfriend. Some were pictures of Miles. Some were of people connected to the case, including the friend who testified against her. The police did not tell me exactly how many there were, but my lawyer said there were enough that they are treating it as evidence of continued intimidation, rather than one stupid attempt to scare people. There were pictures of my parents' house too. Not close-up pictures through windows or anything like that. Mostly the outside of the house, Their car is the front gate. But there was one taken during Christmas, when the lights were up outside. I had been there that day. That photograph was taken months before Lindy was sentenced. The police also found a memory card in the laptop case. Most of the files were deleted, but they were able to recover some of them. There were screenshots of my Instagram stories from before I blocked Lindy, screenshots of my boyfriend's social media, and photos taken outside places I regularly went before the attack. The Irish pub was one of them. The picture of me outside the pub had a date and time attached to it. It was taken 40 minutes before Lindy and her friends walked in. That part matters legally, because Lindy had always insisted the pub incident was spontaneous. Her lawyer kept describing it as an argument that got out of hand. The photographs, the messages from the old phone, and now this storage unit make that much harder to argue. Her boyfriend was arrested the same evening the unit was searched. He has denied taking the photographs or sending the envelope. According to his lawyer, he claims Lindy used the storage unit and had access to everything inside it. I do not know how that is supposed to explain pictures taken after she went to prison, but that is apparently what he is going with. The police have his phone now. They also took his computer from his flat. Miles has been talking to them too. He finally admitted that before the pub incident, Lindy had asked him strange questions about where I was going and who I was with. He said he thought she was just being jealous again. He also said that a few days before the attack, she had asked whether I still went to that particular pub for karaoke when there was a holiday the next day. He answered her. He told her that I probably did, because I usually went with the same friends. I do not know what I'm supposed to do with that information. He was not part of the attack. He did not tell her to hurt me, but he gave her exactly what she wanted without even realizing it. My lawyer told me the prosecutor is now considering whether the new evidence could affect Lindy's appeal, and whether her boyfriend can be charged separately for witness intimidation, stalking, and possibly helping plan the attack. Nothing is certain yet, because they still need to prove who took which photographs and who sent the envelope. Yesterday the police returned one of my boyfriend's things that had been taken for evidence. It was a spare key ring he had left in his car. There was a tiny black device attached behind the key fob. Update 9. The police did not tell us that while they were still at my flat because they wanted to check whether it was actually active first. I think they were also trying not to panic us before they knew what they were dealing with. My boyfriend's car had already been taken in for a more thorough search by then, so the key ring was just the first thing they returned. It was one of those tiny magnetic trackers that can be hidden underneath a car or attached to metal. This one had been taped behind the plastic part of the key fob instead. It was small enough that neither of us noticed it, especially because my boyfriend has had that key ring forever. There are too many stupid little things attached to it already. A bottle opener, a Fallout keychain, a tiny metal D20 from our Dungeons & Dragons group. The tracker was hidden behind all of that. The police believe it had been there for at least several weeks. That means whoever put it there knew my boyfriend well enough to get access to his keys, or got lucky while his car was parked somewhere. They are checking camera footage from his workplace, his gym, my building, and the supermarket we went to after my follow-up appointment. Unfortunately, most places only keep footage for a short time, so a lot of it is already gone. The tracker had a SIM card in it. The police were able to get some information from the provider, although they said it would take longer to get the full records. It had been sending location data to an account under a fake name. The account was paid for using a prepaid card, which is obviously not ideal, but the tracker had connected to the same phone more than once. That phone is not Lindy's boyfriend's main phone, it is a second phone. The police found it in a drawer at his flat, after they got another warrant. Apparently he had tried to hide it under a pile of old clothes, which is almost insulting considering how much effort he seems to have put into everything else. It had the tracking app installed on it, along with pictures of my building, screenshots of public transport routes near my physiotherapist, and photos of my boyfriend's car in different parking spaces. There were also messages between him and someone saved under a contact name that was just a single black heart emoji. The police have not told me for certain that it was Lindy. They need to confirm it properly. Especially because she has been in prison this entire time and her lawyer is already trying to argue that her boyfriend acted alone. But some of the messages were written in the same way Lindy used to write to me. The same phrases, the same weird overuse of quotation marks, the same way of calling me the bride. One message was sent the day after Miles gave my dad the old phone. It said that he had ruined everything and that they needed to make him scared enough to stop handing things over. Another message mentioned my surgery recovery and said I was acting better now because I had a boyfriend to play nursemaid. I have not been able to stop thinking about that one. My boyfriend did not take it well. He kept apologizing for bringing this into my life, which is ridiculous because none of this is his fault. He was angry in a way I have never really seen from him before. Not loud or dramatic, just very quiet. He sat at my kitchen table after the police left and kept turning his empty coffee mug between his hands until I thought it might crack. The police asked whether we wanted to stay somewhere else temporarily. My parents immediately offered their house, but it is not exactly accessible for me right now, and I do not want to give up my flat every time Lindy or her boyfriend decide to make themselves part of my life again. So for now, the police have given us a direct number to call, and my landlord agreed to change the lock on the building entrance and add a better light near the back door. The prosecutor has also filed for Lindy's appeal to be reviewed with the new evidence included. Her boyfriend is still in custody while they investigate the tracker, the photographs, the storage unit, and the messages. From what my lawyer explained, the police are now looking at whether he was involved before the pub attack too, not just afterward. Then, this morning, my lawyer called again. The second phone had one deleted video on it that the police managed to recover. It was filmed outside the Irish pub on the night I was attacked. It starts with me and my best friend walking toward the entrance, then the camera turns